Cool, guys.
Is this appropriate?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So,
It's my office cup.
do you guys? This is my office cup. That's good. Um, so first, guys, Mr. Joe, Mr. Chris, maybe just introduce yourself. I guess how did you get to where you are now? Starting True Freedom Capital, having 65 units now going on. Um, how did you get in the commercial real estate space growing up? Did you know much about real estate? I guess Joe, you want to go first, and then Chris can talk about it. How'd you guys meet?
Yeah, sure, I could jump in. So, yeah, I followed the typical corporate track, going to school, getting my MBA, going working for a big old company, for a paper company, Georgia Pacific. So, I'm actually responsible for any of the Dixie cups or Dixie plates you might be drinking out of or eating off of.
Yeah.
So do a lot of that stuff. And I used to lead GP's Mexico business, and then I had to work myself out of that job and fire about 30 people. And it just kind of hit me that I needed to start working on other streams of income because it really could have been me on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
And so that just put me on this crash course of learning and trying to find new things to get extra income, and which led me to real estate eventually. And bought my first duplex, then met Chris, and I think I posted something on biggerpockets.com, which is a real estate investing website. And he saw it, and he came down, walking down to my office, and he was like, "Hey, do you invest in real estate?" And I said, "How do you know?" He's like, "Well, I saw you post something on Bigger Pockets." I was like, "Oh my God," I thought it was like a secret, right?
Yeah.
So we knew each other because he and I worked together on the food service business at Georgia Pacific, but it was we did not ever talk about investing. So that's kind of where we started getting together on things. And then he found a deal in Watertown, and we decided to take it down together. And we've been buying stuff together ever since.
Wait, how long ago was your first deal together? If you don't mind me asking.
That first duplex, I think, was the summer of 2019.
Oh wow! So like 3 years you've been. Wow.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
awesome. So you guys average like a unit and a half a month, like really as far as growth. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's been pretty quick. I mean, we always talk about we wish it could be faster,
Yeah.
but it's definitely. I think one of the things I read during that whole process was you should go as fast as you need to, but as slow as or as fast as you want to, but as slow as you need to. Don't compare yourself to how fast everybody else is going, and just do what works for you, right?
So to cut you off before Chris goes, what could you guys implement that would make it faster? What is the slowest part for you guys right now?
Really, I think it's making sure we have our cash position in the right way, in the right place, and then also it's with commercial real estate, you want to have the deal and you want to have the funding at the same time, right? And so in the beginning we didn't have the funding, but we were finding a lot of deals. And then now we're finding fewer deals, but now we're attracting a lot more funding.
Right.
And so it's kind of one of these things where when you're starting out, you need both to be successful in it. But it's either one or the other that kind of gives and takes. So, it was funding in the beginning, and we took care of that various different ways: lines of credit, credit cards, home equity lines of credit, loans from other people, whatnot. But
So you can imagine.
Yep, just make it happen.
Well, for anyone listening to this, if you have a commercial real estate you would like to sell, hit me up and I'll get you guys in touch with Mr. Joe, Mr. Chris. But so I guess how did you kind of get into it? I know you said you saw on, was it better.com or what was it again?
Bigger Pockets.
Biggerpockets.com.
Yep. So I actually got started right out of college. I went to school in upstate New York. Went and got my bachelor's degree in finance, and quickly realized that even with a professional salary, that I still could barely afford my rent. So I had to figure out some other way to, kind of subsidize that with the student loan payments and whatnot. So kind of took a look around at some people that I knew were investing in duplexes, and I decided to buy a duplex, rent one side out that would pay the mortgage, and then I would live in the other half with my wife. And we essentially lived rent and mortgage free because the other side, paid the mortgage for us. So that's what you call house hacking, and that's what I did for the first 3 years or so. I didn't really scale beyond that. I was young and not so smart, and spent, all of the money that I would have allocated towards rent. I spent that on just having fun with my friends. So,
Yeah.
but it was still a great opportunity. I did everything myself, which, young and dumb again. I would not do that or recommend it to anyone.
Like maintenance, you
But
mean?
yes,
Oh.
maintenance, late night phone calls for leaking toilets. I've dealt with, quite a bit over those 3.5 years.
Mhm.
So, but from there, I was able to sell that and make, as I transitioned it into a role in Atlanta, Georgia, I was able to sell that, make a fair profit off from it. And I started investing in single family homes in the metro Atlanta area. Um, and I ended up getting, I think it was two or three by the time I met Joe. Again, managing myself, doing a lot of the maintenance and stuff myself. Hadn't quite learned at that point to outsource, but so Joe and I, we partnered on that one duplex that he mentioned in Watertown, and I had some cash, he had some cash, but neither of us had enough to take it down to, by ourselves. And we also were interested in partnerships and, what that looked like. This was kind of like that first step to see how we work together. But that first one, it was a home run, really BRRRR deal, which is where you buy rehab, rent it out to a tenant.
Mhm.
Then you'll refinance, pull all of the equity and the cash that you infused into it. You'll pull all that out, and then continue to hold it for a profit. So that's what we did. It didn't yield a whole lot of cash flow at the end, but we did pull all of our equity out plus some, and from there, like Joe mentioned, we utilized various sources of funding. I've cashed in my 401k twice, because just to have more control over it, even though, you do pay the taxes and stuff. I've been able to grow that money significantly faster than it would have if it sat in a mutual fund. Um, so yeah, from there we were able to scale up to a 12 unit, and really that created a whole lot of relationships that's really helped us to scale up to the 65 or so units that we have now.
Nice, cool. That's actually really cool. So, you've purchased single family, you've done multifamily, done duplexes. Now you're on to bigger and better um, apartments. And so those of you guys who don't know, I actually, when I work construction, I used to work on these guys' apartment complexes. So I know some of them. Kai's Avenue, especially, right? Tower of Kai's. Is that how many units is that one? Out of curiosity.
12.
12, including there's like what, 6 in the back, and then how does that one lay out?
Four in the back, and then 8 up front.
8 up front. Okay. Yeah, cool.
So,
Really, what made you guys kind of transition from so why are you no longer doing, or maybe you are, residential as opposed to commercial? Is there more benefits to commercial real estate that you guys see? Do you think it's just better market? I guess kind of talk to me there on why the commercial side things, not so much residential.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of reasons, and I've written a blog article actually on our website about this. Like, what are the key benefits of multifamily versus residential? And for one, let me see if I can remember them all right. That you got scale for one, right? So you might have one roof that covers 12 units, and you only got to replace one roof, right? So in residential, you'll be replacing 12 different roofs. If you got and that also goes for the same for all sorts of utilities and landscaping and heating, electric, whatever. all that stuff is combined with the scale and economies of scale, right? So as the unit count goes up, a lot of those costs go down, and so your costs are really optimized. The bigger that you get, the easier it is for property management to take over and manage a 12 unit than 12 different single family homes. You can get a discount on your management costs as well. The tax benefits are pretty great on a big size building. So there's something called cost segregation, which we haven't implemented yet, but we're planning to, where you can essentially itemize out and depreciate different things in your building at different depreciation schedules. So like a stove depreciates maybe at 5 years versus, the wood in a building depreciating at that 27.5 years. So, tax benefits, economies of scale, just costs in general. What else, Chris? What am I missing off the top of my head here?
One of the big ones is going to be the way that a commercial property is going to be valued by a lender and also by another investor. So like if you think about a single family home or even a duplex up to a quad, that's going to be valued based off from a comparable property. So, if I've got the nicest duplex in the area, I might not get an appraisal for that property if I'm going to try to get a refinance, or if I sell it and the new buyer is going to get an appraisal to get it financed. It may be capped at a certain amount, but in terms of commercial properties, they're all valued based off from the income they produce. So you can be very creative to find new revenue sources, such as like coin laundry. You can rent out storage units. You can, if you have a basement area that's not utilized, you can turn those into storage units. You can bill back some utilities to tenants. There's various revenue sources that you can do. So that, if you can boost the bottom line, then that's going to increase the value of the property. And you don't even necessarily need to implement any, dollars into the property for rehabs or anything. But that is another way. So, and especially if like a lot of the properties that we're buying, we're buying them with rents that are severely under market. Just within the last year or two, some rents were at $400 a unit. Where we're going to rehab them and we'll run them out for anywhere from $800 to $1,100 per unit. So
Right.
That almost doubles the value of the property just there or more. So that's the big opportunity. So we're kind of doing the BRRRR strategy, what I mentioned a few minutes ago, where we buy, rehab, rent it out, and refinance. And then so we'll refinance, pull our equity out, and then we'll take that equity to go buy more buildings or bigger buildings. So it's just BRRRR at a different level.
That is actually really cool. So as far as the equity standpoint, it's exponentially greater than a single family, right? Because the only way to increase value in a single family is simply by just kitchens and bathrooms. But like you said, you can increase the total just income of the property. Like I did not know that, like coin machine or laundry machines and things like that. Is there like a go-to other than, I know you guys like to really renovate the rooms, flooring, paint, kitchen. Is there anything else that you guys do that you find like is a really good investment to exponentially increase the equity in the property? Like you said, do you have many like laundry rooms in your commercial buildings, or like what else?
Yeah, we have laundry facilities in our larger properties. But renovations is the big thing, because you can't just arbitrarily increase rent without showing some sort of value that you're adding to the residents' lives, right? I mean, people will pay for value, and if they feel like they're getting more than like in your property than in someone else's property at the same price, then they'll stay with you, right? So, and we want to. One of the great things about real estate is you can really positively impact a community and in people's lives, right?
Yeah.
So even our residents you mentioned the tower at Kai's, they've expressed appreciation in just how we've fixed up the property and how we've made it nicer and a nicer place to live. We've cleaned it up, got rid of the trash, made it more habitable, fixed the leaks, and
Right.
if you're just a good landlord and you don't have a bunch of deferred maintenance, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
amazing how just that little bit will separate you from the pack.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, I
um,
remember. I remember doing most of that. I remember you guys changing the roof on the back, a few units a few years ago. I remember, doing a lot of the minute stuff in some of those. That's a really cool building, especially that first apartment. Really unique.